Seth Stephens-Davidowitz wanted to call his new book How Big Is My Penis, but his publishers demurred. He settled for Everybody Lies. The book is subtitled What the Internet Can Tell Us About Who We Really Are, and it's a polished display of some of the early fruits of big data science. Its principal defect, perhaps, is that it doesn't say enough about how many of these fruits are rotten. Stephens-Davidowitz's first source, when he set up as a data scientist, was Google Trends, which records the relative frequency of particular searches in different places at different times. He soon added Google AdWords, which registers the actual number of searches. Then he moved on to other vastnesses: Wikipedia, Facebook, and then Pornhub, one of the largest pornographic sites in the world. Pornhub gave him its complete dataset, duly anonymized every single search and video view. He also scraped many other sites, including neo-Nazi sites such as Stormfront, which account for the internet's resemblance to the box jellyfish, a highly poisonous predator with 60 anuses. Ignoble metadata flowed in. He found that searches for racist jokes rise about 30% on Martin Luther King Day in the US, and that in the recent Republican primaries, regions that supported Donald Trump in the largest numbers made the most Google searches for nigger. Data from Prosper, a peer-to-peer loan website, showed that there are 5 expressions in particular that one should be aware of when reviewing applications for loans: God, promise, will pay, hospital, and thank you. Making promises is a sure sign that someone will not do something. God is particularly bad news. There are many such facts waiting to be harvested. For all social scientists such as Stephens-Davidowitz, big data has 4 central virtues. First, it's a digital truth serum. It supplies honest data on matters people lie about in surveys, for instance racist attitudes, but above all, to quote Mick Jagger, sex and sex and sex and sex. Second, it offers the means to run larger-scale randomized controlled experiments, which are usually extremely laborious and expensive, at almost no cost, and in this way uncover causal linkages in addition to mere correlations. Third, the sheer quantity of data allows us to zoom in precisely on small subsets of people in a way that was previously impossible. Finally, it provides new types of data. Stephens-Davidowitz thinks searches of internet pornography habits are probably the most important development ever in our ability to understand human sexuality. They deliver data that Schopenhauer, Nietzsche, Freud, and Foucault would have drooled over. Some of his sexual facts are depressing, others are funny and touching. Some are engaging because we find them extraordinary, others because we find them ill too human. The search data suggests that hundreds of thousands of young men are predominantly attracted to elderly women. Many heterosexual men feel about their partner what William Wordsworth felt about his wife Mary: they wish she'd put on weight. Anal sex is on course to overtake vaginal sex in pornography before the end of the decade. Pornography in which violence is perpetrated against a woman almost always appeals disproportionately to women. More than 75% of searches of the form "I want to have sex with my" are incestuous. Men search for ways to perform oral sex on themselves as often as they search for how to give a woman an orgasm. Big data isn't intrinsically dangerous or evil, and it can be extraordinarily valuable and engaging. There are many unwavering specializations. For some women, only short fat men with small penises will do. For some men, only massive nipples. 30% only ever watch pornography of the ugliest kind. But many of us are not as weird as our online behavior may suggest. Distortion is introduced by the fact that certain types of Google searches skew towards the forbidden, and there are numerous subtleties and traps when it comes to the interpretation of data, many of which Stephens-Davidowitz expounds clearly. For all that the numbers are big, and they add up. The next Foucault will be a data scientist. The next Freud will be a data scientist. The next Marx will be a data scientist. This is unlikely, I think, but these future individuals will do well to work with data scientists, and by the end of Everybody Lies, Stephens-Davidowitz has almost earned his flourish as what constitutes data has been wildly reimagined. Everything is data. What he hasn't done is say enough about the dangers. I expected a reference to Cathy O'Neill, who shows in her book Weapons of Math Destruction 2016 how programs based on big data introduce a frightening new efficiency into predatory advertising, distort higher education, drive up debt, spur mass incarceration, pummel the poor at nearly every juncture, and undermine democracy. Programs designed with the very best intentions fall into deadly self-confirming feedback loops that confirm their efficacy even as they spiral away from the truth and increase injustice. One of the greatest dangers of the internet, noted by Daniel Kahneman in his valuable book Thinking, Fast and Slow 2011, arises from the fact that people can maintain an unshakable faith in any proposition, however absurd, when they are sustained by a community of like-minded believers. This isn't any sort of exaggeration. Witness the fact that some people deny the existence of consciousness. The trouble is that any belief, any prejudice or hatred, can now find a large supporting community on the internet. Stephens-Davidowitz has a reply to these worries. He's a social scientist, and malignant programs aren't data science in his sense of the term. Their creators aren't simply trying to describe and explain human behavior, they're directing it and manipulating it. Big data isn't intrinsically dangerous or evil, and it can be extraordinarily valuable and engaging. New facts spring up everywhere. Some of the results, such as the correlation between hurricanes and the consumption of strawberry Pop-Tarts, are agreeably surreal. For him, the big point is this: social science is becoming a real science. And this new, real science is poised to improve our lives. I like Stephens-Davidowitz's suggestion in a recent interview. Sometimes I think it would be a good thing if everyone's porn habits were released at once. It would be embarrassing for 30 seconds, then we'd all get over it and be more open about sex. But I don't share his general optimism. I suspect the easy availability of pornography is turning out to be one of the great tragedies of human history, destructive of the best kind of sexual relations. If we had an infallible happyometer that could measure the overall gains and losses to human existence caused by the internet, I think we'd find that the balance will increasingly be negative. Everybody Lies: What the Internet Can Tell Us About Who We Really Are is published by Bloomsbury. To order a copy for £17 RRP £20, go to bookshop.theguardian.com or call 0330 333 6846. Free UK PP over £10, online orders only. Phone orders min PP of £1.99.